We now want to welcome in Emily Waldon. You can follow her on X at Emily C. Waldon. She's a Detroit Tigers prospect writer for Baseball America, contributor to Just Baseball Media, as well as the Tigers minor league report. I was going to ask about that. We've had Rogelio Castillo on. So you must know Rogelio.
I do. Yeah,
Okay.
he and Chris are longtime friends of mine
Cool.
and came on board with him this year just to help them out on the content front. And we had a lot of fun.
Nice. Yeah, he's an awesome guy, especially if you want to keep up on your minor league prospects in the farm system for the Tigers. And same with you. So, yeah, we wanted to bring you on, obviously, and just kind of talk about some stuff that you've been doing with the Tigers, with the minor league system. So, yeah, thanks for taking some time to do this for us.
Of course. Yeah, always a pleasure.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I'd seen some of your stuff, some of your tweets and everything when following, again, the Tigers and their prospects, their farm system. But I really came across your stuff. We had Dan Hasty on a couple weeks ago. He's the radio voice for the West Michigan Whitecaps. Obviously, I would assume you know Dan, and it was a really cool conversation with him talking about the Whitecaps. When we had him on, it was before they had made their playoff run. The Whitecaps have since won the Midwest League Championship, and you were following them along the way. So can you just kind of give us your recap of following along the Whitecaps and really what was a historic season for them?
Gosh, I don't think any of us really actually knew just how good this team was going to be. There was a number of guys coming back that were sort of poised for a breakout year. You had seen some, kind of preview of what they could potentially start to do, but they just hadn't quite gotten to that point yet. And I think the thing that really sort of stood out to me the most was it reminds you that it takes an entire roster to win games. So you can have big name prospects, you can have guys that are, ranked, in the top 5 in the country, amongst minor league players. And that team just raised the bar, it's almost like they forgot how to lose at a certain point. And seeing the guys who sort of stepped up, especially when more of the top end prospects did get promoted, they ended up having a better second half than they did the first half. And that's no disrespect to the other players whatsoever.
Right.
It was more these lesser known names who said, hey, we're all on board with this vision. The vision hasn't changed just because the roster looks a little different, which is very common in minor league baseball. But the fact that they still embraced that and said, no, we still have the same goal as before, and we're going to pursue that, just speaks to the depth and also the leadership on that team. The coaching staff with Tony Capicelli and his support staff, incredible. That's really the best way to put it, incredible.
Looking ahead to next, and obviously we will talk about the Tigers with a big series coming up starting tomorrow against the Guardians. But looking ahead to next year, what do you think our expectations should be heading into next season with McGonigal and Clark? When do you think we're going to see those guys in a Tigers uniform? Is it going to be next year? Could it be out of spring training? What do you think?
I think the opportunity for both to break camp could potentially come out of spring training. There was something an executive told me one time which stuck with me. And he said, if you can hit, we'll find a place for you. So I think a lot of teams do prioritize the ability to hit over defense, because if you have a consistent bat, every team wants a consistent hit tool. And obviously McGonigal, there's really nothing left for him to prove. I think we all saw that by the numbers this year. Clark's been working on, I would say, just a little fine tuning on some things. Obviously the athleticism is more than visible. He's come leaps and bounds in his plate discipline, in his power numbers. He actually started hitting the ball harder once he got to AA, which I found interesting because his contact rate with West Michigan was very, very impressive, but it's almost like he's sized up the Eastern League pitching to the point where he could push his power numbers a little bit. And I thought that was pretty cool as far as his development goes.
We'll talk other prospects and more baseball, but I'm a little curious about Emily. What brought you into baseball journalism?
Oh, yeah, it's definitely unorthodox, my story. Didn't go to school for it. So not your typical journalism degree. Grew up around the game. I'm a total daddy's girl. My dad's a huge baseball fan. And so it kind of started out with me just saying, you know, if he wants to do it, I want to do it. And I started to realize my fandom at the time was getting more pulled towards, why does that pitcher throw that way? You know, why does that guy hit that way? Why does he stand that way at the plate? And I would just pepper my dad with questions. My dad's like, I mean, I don't know. So he kind of learned alongside with me, but I feel like I always had sort of a bend towards just the mechanic side of it, the scouting side of it. And the minors just made sense. I didn't have a goal to get in the minors. Like I actually, when I first had my opportunity, I went, does anybody actually want to hear about the minors?
Right.
So at the time when I started, minor league conversation was not a super common thing, especially around the Tiger system, because it was bad.
Yeah.
It was tough. And so me breaking in at the time that I did, I think was really cool because there wasn't girls doing what I was doing. So that sort of
Right.
allowed me kind of a unique position. There were a lot of girls in the major league level who were doing reporting and different stuff like that, but I was kind of the, you know, the odd man out, and I got to sort of carve my way into it, and here we are 11 years later.
Well, let me do one quick follow-up on that since you brought it up. As a woman, a baseball writer, have you faced any major challenges that you could share with us?
Many.
We got the time.
Yeah, there's definitely been a lessening of that over time, and I think it just goes to show that when you can prove your longevity, that people are going to go, okay, she's serious. Like she's going to stay. She's here to stay. I think the biggest one early on was getting accused of chasing players and going, you're just here to meet a guy. You're just here to, you know, hook up with somebody. You're just here
Right.
to, a cleat chaser for people who aren't familiar with the term.
Right.
And it took me, I would say, at least a good 2 to 3 years before the comments started to become less and more people started saying, oh, she actually knows her stuff. Like, this is cool. Let's see what she can do. But again, it wasn't normal what I was
Right.
doing. There wasn't a lot of women, I should say, doing what I was doing.
Right.
So it was cool for me because I got to sort of open that door a little bit more for women saying, hey, come into minor league baseball. Like there's really cool stories to tell and there's cool experiences to be had. And now obviously we're seeing a lot more of that now.
No, that's definitely awesome, and it's a shame it should have never been that way. It's you know that we don't have to get into the rabbit hole of that. It's a shame that it was ever that way. Some of that stuff that was going on, but it is cool to see that things have changed, and you see a lot more women in prominent roles, whether it's calling play-by-play, doing color analysts for games, or covering sidelines. You know, whatever. It is really cool to see, especially as a girl dad. You know, I have a daughter, so it's very cool for me to think about the opportunities that she's going to have down the road. I wanted to ask you about covering minor league baseball, maybe versus covering the big club, if you want to say that. You know, like if you were a beat writer for the Tigers, maybe the difference in that. You know, talking to Dan Hasty, he was talking about how on minor league games they have a little more, I guess, maybe leeway to like have some fun because you know he was basically saying if people are tuning in to us to listen to a Whitecaps game, let's have some fun. Let's kind of keep them engaged. You talked about the stories. You probably have some players, some really, really cool stories. Think about like a guy like Bull Durham, you know, the movie Bull Durham, lifetime minor league player. You know, maybe you have some other stories, a guy that just came out of nowhere and he's trying to make his way to the bigs. Can you just talk about maybe like how cool it is to cover a minor league team and just maybe how it's probably different than calling a major league baseball club with the stories and maybe some of the different things that you can follow?
Yeah, I always call it a preview because you're getting that exposure to stories that just haven't been told yet, you know, outside of the names of like former big league players whose sons are coming up and starting to get recognized. And I think one of my favorite stories from that front, I've actually got two, but I would say one of my favorites, I had a bunch of contacts that I developed in the Dominican. This is, gosh, probably 2016, I think at the time. I got a video of this young kid taking batting practice, and they said, you've got to keep an eye on him. He's probably going to get drafted by the Blue Jays. And I was like, who is this? So I started digging in a little bit more. It was Vladimir Guerrero
Black
Jr.
Arrow. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody was really talking about him. I mean, not to the degree of big exposure stateside. There was obviously conversations going on in the Dominican about it, but I started to do a little digging and found out that he was going to come to Lansing
Right.
to participate in a home run derby with the Lansing Lugnuts. And I was able to get out there, got a connection, got out there, shot some video. The video went completely viral. I got contacted by Vlad Sr. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like reliving my childhood. I'm like, I'm talking to Vladimir Guerrero.
Right.
It was so surreal. And he just sent me the nicest note. He said, thank you for talking about my son. Thank you for giving him exposure. And then I had the privilege of pretty much covering him, Bo Bichette, Dustin May, trying to think of some of the other names who have come through, Joe
You were
Adele,
loaded.
Brandon Marsh. Like the list just goes on and on and on. And meeting guys like him, Fernando Tatis Jr. at that
Right.
age, it's really a preview. It's a preview of what fans can expect. These players are so accessible in comparison to once they get to
Right.
the majors. So
Right.
that's why I'm always pushing to people, go to minor league games. Like you will not regret it. It's such
Oh,
a fun
yeah.
experience.
Out of all your players you've covered, any really cool stories you can share with us?
Yeah, I think my favorite would definitely have to be watching the journey of Tarek Skubal. As you guys know, and pretty much anybody who follows baseball knows, you are judged by your draft slot. And
Yeah.
Tarek was obviously not first round, second round. He wasn't even in the top 5.
Mm-hmm.
And watching the way that he sort of took on that mentality of proving people wrong every opportunity he got. I used to have scouts who would contact me and they'd go, why do you keep beating this drum with Tarek Skubal? Like, he's not durable. He had had Tommy John surgery. They're like,
Yeah.
he doesn't have the velocity. He can't go high in his pitch counts. And at the time, I was very much like, an entry level type scout for the evaluation stuff that I was doing. And I remember telling my scouting mentor, I said, there is something about this guy. The way he throws, I can't put my finger on it. I didn't have the confidence to really stand behind it, but I'm like, guys, I'm telling you, like it was so frustrating. And he said, if that's what your gut's telling you, he said, stick with it. And I used to send Tarek these texts before his starts in the minors and just say, hey, you've been proving people wrong this far. Keep proving them wrong. Keep proving them wrong. And we kept up that tradition to the point where he's winning the Triple Crown. He's winning the Cy Young. He's winning all of this stuff. And I just texted him the other day and I said, hey, you reset now. It's the postseason.
Okay.
Keep proving people wrong. So that really is the coolest thing I've gotten to watch just in the stories I've gotten to tell, because he's never been someone who will just take someone else's opinion. He goes, no, I know I'm more than that. I know I'm meant for more than that. And obviously he's proved that to everybody.
No, I think
Wow.
that's probably one of the cooler stories that we've ever heard from a guest on this podcast. Obviously, right now, because the Tigers are about to start their playoffs.
Yep.
Are you sure the movie Trouble with the Curve wasn't about you? I mean,
So and we could tell a lot of backstories on this, but fun fact, I like to share scout stories. My scout friends are some of the most depressing, jaded people that you will ever talk to. Just because these are guys who've been around the game for 20, 30 years,
Right.
and they've seen the low points, they've seen the high points. Nothing surprises them anymore.
Yep.
They hated that movie.
Oh, really?
They said, they were like, the inaccuracies in that movie were far too many to count. And they're
Yeah.
like, that is so inaccurate. You don't do this. They don't do that. And they're just like going down this list of things. I thought it was entertaining.
I mean, as far as movies go, Clint
That's the
Eastwood,
idea.
and it was entertaining. But I could see that because people have similar criticisms of Moneyball. They say
Yes.
Moneyball actually, as entertaining and great as Moneyball was, it was fairly inaccurate with what actually happened with the Oakland A's that year.
Well, and the crazy thing, going
Hollywood.
back to just the the Tarek Skubal thing, most scouts didn't have him higher than a number 3 or a number 4. And a few of them even said a number 3 might be generous, but they're like, there's no way he's an ace.
Wow.
There's no way he's going to be one of those guys that gets talked about. And here we are.
Here we are.
It's amazing.
One of the best pitchers, probably about to win his second Cy Young, and I think that's probably one of the cooler things with covering minor leagues. We've talked about it, how much we love, the three of us, we love high school football and high school sports in general, but it's like you build different relationships, right? I mean, like you said, you meet these guys when they're trying to come up and make a career for themselves, and then maybe once in a while you stay connected with one that turns into the best pitcher in the major leagues. But
well, and
really
I
cool.
had one over the weekend, if I can squeeze in one more story and talk your guys' ear off.
Sure.
Jose Fermin, he was somebody I met in the Cleveland system. When we met at the time, he was in high A with Lake County in the Midwest League. And he and a couple other players were kind of doing enough to get their name talked about. And the thing with him, and this, again, one of my favorite things about the minors, he was always told, you're too small. You're never going to hit for power. You're never going to be an everyday guy. You're never, just listing off all of the areas that he was falling short.
Right.
He is now with St. Louis. The Cardinals picked him up. And the guy that was consistently told you will never be a big leaguer, I got to watch him play for the Cardinals over the weekend. So
awesome.
that was pretty cool, just getting to go down and talk to him and give him a hug. And I mean, I haven't seen him since, gosh, probably 2019.
Right.
I think was the last time I saw him. So that's baseball. That's baseball, and you never know when you're going to run into somebody, but I would not trade those stories for anything.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I like to imagine it's like when you see these guys, when they're 18 and they haven't proven anything to anybody, when they're making like their big league debut, it's like we'll see the mom and the dad in the stands like reacting to every pitch or every at bat. It's like I would imagine it's somewhat similar to you, like at home watching some of these guys make their debut.
100%.
Pretty amazing to hear that side of it.
100%. I always tell people, I said I feel like a proud big sister because, especially with the Whitecaps team, this year too, I got to see some of these guys at their lowest low points and getting to work their way back up to that level and accomplish that. Like, it did make me emotional at points because you see the effort and the energy that goes into this, and to achieve that goal is just such a special thing to witness.
You have a unique perspective on, like you said, you've been following a lot of these guys since they were 18 years old, just drafted. Do you have any takes on or any vibes on this upcoming series against the Guardians? How do you see it playing out? Hopefully it's a Tigers win. What do you think?
I have learned that no matter how much forecasting you do when it comes to Detroit and Cleveland series, it is literally you roll the dice and you just go, whatever happens. And I think it's honestly going to come down to who can capitalize first. Obviously, the Tigers did a lot of things right early in the year. We saw that by their record. We saw that by the way that they just sort of steamrolled ahead of everybody right off the bat. You can't discount the Guardians' ability to capitalize off of other teams' mistakes. And don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure they have like the worst batting average in the league this season, something like that. If something along the lines of one of the lowest. And you take guys like Stephen Kwan, who is a Tiger killer. And I tell people, I'm like, I'm a big fan of Stephen, just the way he plays. The way he plays is so electric and it's so scrappy. But guys like him, obviously Bo Naylor, he can sometimes be a little spotty offensively, but a lot of abilities there. It's going to come down to who makes the first move and who can get that momentum ahead of the other right away. But it's always a good series. You never know what's going to happen.
No, we were talking about it already, and it's an awesome series. And then with Red Sox Yankees on the other side for the AL, I mean, it's really setting up. Used to be the Indians, Cleveland and Detroit, the baseball. It is a really good rivalry. I mean, it may not be on the national stage like Yankees, Red Sox, or some of these other ones, but Cleveland versus Detroit really is a good series. I wanted to ask you, and then last one for me, I don't know if the other guys have another one, but you talked about how much you love covering minor leagues. are you planning to stick in the minor leagues, or do you want to at some point get the call to the majors, I guess, from the minor leagues, or what is, I guess, your career prospects?
Yeah, I've learned to never say never, just because, like I said, I didn't have a plan to be in the minors, and so I don't think I really expected to fall in love with it the way that I did. It would really just come down to the logistics of it. But I
Right.
do know I want to be around the game in some capacity, and so I think just continuing to build relationships and network and really kind of keep myself established within the game when that door opens, I'll definitely consider it. But it would be hard to walk away.
Yeah.
It would be hard to walk away just because it's been really a second family, especially through my health journey a couple years ago that I went through. You never know how much baseball is a family until you
Mhm.
go through something like that, and just to see the way that everyone rallies around you. And I think that's baseball in general. So something I'm very grateful to be a part of.
Well, you do an awesome job with it. And before we let you out of here, a couple quickies. Matt brought it up first. Bull Durham. How many times have you watched that flick?
I actually have only seen it a couple times, to be completely honest. I think my higher favorites on the list, I love 42. I thought
Oh, yeah.
42 was a great one. 61, we're just going to name off movies that
Absolutely.
have numbers in the title. My dad was a big Yankee fan. So my dad grew up in the Mantle era,
Nice.
with all those guys, and so he would tell he would tell us a lot of his stories about how he used to destroy Mickey Mantle cards, and we would just basically cry and be like, Dad, do you know how much that would be worth now?
Right.
But we would watch that, and then obviously The Sandlot. You know, you got to
Oh,
go
yeah.
with The Sandlot.
Love the Sandlot.
Ted calls himself Benny the Jet
I was
Rodriguez.
Benny the Jet in our Sandlot. Absolutely. It's documented. Just a little sidebar. Most people maybe not know, but part of the fact was that 61 was filmed in Tiger Stadium. They made it look like Yankee Stadium.
Yep.
And to tie into our podcast, a young man from our high school was a catcher for the opposing team in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Really? I
So
don't
how
think I
about
knew
that?
that side of it.
Yeah.
Nope.
We'll fill you in on tidbits.
Ryan Osborne, he had one line. I think it was something like, "Oh, it's gone" or something like that. When somebody hit a home run. I haven't seen that movie, but I definitely will check it out now.
It was when Roger Maris hit number 61. He was the catcher.
Yep.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Hmm.
Good flick. Well, we'll let you out of here with just a promo. Tell our listeners, how to follow you, where to read your stuff, and that type of thing.
Yeah, so I am on Twitter, Emily C. Walden. On Instagram, Emily Walden one, the number one. And then yeah, putting stuff out at Baseball America, Just Baseball Media, and then some little moonlighting over at Tigers Minor League Report. So definitely still got a lot of irons in the fire, but relaxing a little bit more.
Well, we appreciate you taking time out and joining us. This has been a lot of fun. We look forward to catching up with you down the road.
Absolutely. I appreciate the time, guys.